Imagine if you could copy-paste the mindset of one person from history and turn it into a practical algorithm to recode your entire life today. We are not here to recite history for entertainment. We don't do bedtime stories. On this channel, we analyze great humans as case studies. How can one single decision change a destiny forever? Our goal in every episode is singular. We deconstruct the decisions that made the character, expose the mistakes that almost destroyed them, and extract a clear code for success that you can apply immediately in your career, your studies, your relationships, and your mindset. Today's episode is exceptional because we are talking about a man who started from literal nothing. No money, no influence, and no degree to open doors, yet he forced his way in to become one of the most significant figures in human history. His name is Benjamin Franklin. But let me be real with you. Franklin didn't become a legend because he was born a genius. The secret is, he built a system. A self-improvement system that leveled him up day after day until he became a force that couldn't be ignored. In this first part, we will live through 3 critical stages with him. How he went from extreme poverty to mastering a skill, how he made one dangerous decision that flipped his life, and how he turned that skill into an empire of influence, money, and reputation. And at the end of each stage, I'll give you the takeaway. Concentrated, practical rules ready to apply in your life, far away from theory. Let's begin. This isn't just a biography. This is an ascent plan. Before we get to the Franklin who changed the face of America, we have to understand the swamp he crawled out of. Benjamin was born in 1706 in Boston, a British colony back then. Boston wasn't a city of dreams. It was a harsh port city where opportunities were reserved for those with titles and wealth, and life for the common man was a daily struggle for survival. He grew up in a massive, crowded family. He was the 15th of his siblings. In a house drowned in the noise of responsibilities with zero luxury, there was no paved road ahead of him. This reality forced a brutal equation on him early on: work or starve. He spent his childhood viewing the world with sharp logic. In this era, anyone who wants to advance has to carve their place out. He didn't wait for perfect conditions because he simply didn't have the luxury of waiting. In 18th century Boston, a man without a trade in his hands died a nobody. That's why we'll see throughout this episode that Franklin was an opportunity hunter, snatching up any piece of knowledge, any skill, or any new method he saw in front of him. If you want to know Franklin's first secret weapon, it wasn't money or connections. It was voracious reading. For a young man working long hours in Boston, books were a rare commodity and incredibly expensive. Yet Franklin treated the book as his only escape ticket from his reality. How did he get them? With street smarts. He would borrow books from anyone who had them, read them all night long, and return them early in the morning. The biggest challenge was time. After a grueling workday, he read while his eyes fought off sleep. But he realized early on, every page he reads gives him a competitive edge, and every new idea polishes his ability to think and speak. And so, learning shifted from a duty to a daily habit. The rule here is simple. Compound knowledge is like compound interest in a bank. A little bit every day creates massive intellectual wealth after a few years. After reading, came the tool that turned his ideas into physical reality, the printing press. Franklin entered the world of printing as an apprentice to his half-brother James, who published the New England Current. This meant he wasn't just close to books, he was in the kitchen of ideas and the manufacturing of public opinion. Printing back then was incredibly brutal work. It wasn't a button click, it was stacking heavy lead types letter by letter, the smell of pungent inks, and pressing machines that required physical strength. One mistake in the arrangement could mean redoing hours of work. The financial payoff? Almost zero. He received housing and food in exchange for this toil, but the real salary Franklin was earning was mastery of the craft. Amidst the noise of the press and deadly deadlines, Franklin was observing smartly. How are controversial articles written? How are political arguments built? And how can a single sheet of paper make a man's reputation or destroy it? The press gave him a skill that crosses borders. Once he mastered this trade, he could go to any city in the world and find work. He transformed himself from a simple laborer into an indispensable craftsman. But inside this printing shop, Franklin collided with the first tyrannical authority in his life: his brother and manager, James. The relationship was toxic. James treated Benjamin like a subordinate child, while Benjamin felt his own genius exploding. In 1721, James launched his bold and rebellious newspaper. It criticized authority and religion, which kept it constantly under the microscope of censorship. Benjamin, the 16-year-old teenager, wanted to write for the paper, but he knew his brother would reject him because of his age. So he resorted to trickery and cunning. He invented a fictional persona of a widow named Silence Dogood. He began writing satirical, biting letters under her name and sliding them under the shop door at night. In the morning, he'd hear his brother and friends praising this mysterious writer. The plan worked, and the widow became the talk of the town. But when Benjamin revealed the truth, instead of being proud, his brother burned with jealousy. The matter turned from a family business into a power struggle. The older brother wanted control, and the younger brother wanted to fly. Things got more complicated when the older brother, James, was jailed for his political articles. They were forced to put the name Benjamin Franklin on the newspaper to bypass the law. Suddenly, the teenager found his name shining in the sky of Boston. But the reality was different. Benjamin was still bound by an unfair apprenticeship contract, and under the mercy of a brother who grew crueler towards him. The talent was growing, and the room was shrinking. Here, Franklin reached a conviction that would change his life. I will not grow in the shade of another tree. Staying in Boston meant the slow death of his ambition. And in September 1723, he made the decision. Summary of Phase 1. Don't wait for permission. Franklin didn't wait to be allowed to write. He invented a persona and forced his talent. Skill is freedom. His mastery of printing is the currency that will buy his freedom later. Environment over talent. When the place you are in, even with family, becomes a chain, leaving isn't betrayal, it's survival. We now reach the turning point. This wasn't just a trip, it was a dangerous escape fraught with risk. Franklin sold some of his books to afford the ticket and fled secretly on a boat to New York at 17. He broke the law by violating his training contract, becoming a fugitive with empty pockets. He arrived in New York but found no work. A printer there advised him, "Go to Philadelphia." The journey to Philadelphia was hell. He walked long distances on foot, took boats in stormy weather, slept in the open, and suffered from hunger and fever. He arrived in Philadelphia on a Sunday morning in October 1723. The image he arrived in bears no relation to the man we see on the $100 bill. He arrived in rags, pockets stuffed with dirty socks, and starving to death. The famous scene: he bought 3 rolls of bread with his last pennies and walked down Main Street eating ravenously while people stared at this disheveled stranger. Here the real story begins, starting from absolute zero. In a new city where he knows no one, how do you make a name for yourself? Franklin didn't waste time in self-pity. He immediately went to search for work in the printing shops. He found a job with a printer named Samuel Keimer, and from the very first moment, Franklin showed unprecedented professionalism. While others worked lazily, he worked with system, speed, and high quality. In cities that don't know you, your work is your only identity. His reputation spread quickly. There's a new young man from Boston. His hands work magic in silk. Commitment, discipline, and mastery of detail were his passport to society. He didn't stop at printing, but went back to his old weapon, writing, but this time with a scientific methodology. By doing this, he built a magical style of persuasion. He realized that power in this world doesn't belong to muscles, but to those who own the word. And he returned to using pseudonyms. Why? To test his ideas in the market without burning his name. He was writing to see the raw reaction of the people, detached from his person. This period represents his growth. He wasn't just a worker. He was observing how the city worked. He saw how merchants spoke, how politicians argued. He was building a mental map of influence. Every handshake, every printed page was a step up the ladder. He was patient, knowing his time was coming. Summary of Phase 2. Start from skill. When your life collapses, the skill in your hands is the only life raft. Reputation is built by action. In a new environment, nobody cares who you are, they care what you achieve. Detach ego from work, test your ideas objectively, as he did with pseudonyms, before betting on them with all your weight. We now move to the third and most dangerous phase, the transformation from professional employee to entrepreneur and influencer. In 1728, at just 22 years old, he decided to become independent and open his own printing shop. The risk was high, and the competition was fierce. He built his strategy on two things: unbeatable quality and self-marketing. He would intentionally transport the paper by wheelbarrow in the street himself, just so people would see him and know he was a hard-working and struggling young man. Then came the quantum leap. He bought the Pennsylvania Gazette. Now he was no longer just a printer executing others' orders, but the owner of the platform. And in 1732, he launched his legendary project, Poor Richard's Almanac. It was a mix of annual calendar, wisdom, and practical advice. It spread like wildfire and became the best-selling book in the colonies after the Bible. Here the equation was complete. Skill plus media platform plus mass product equals influence and wealth. But Franklin wasn't just looking for money. He realized that real power lies in the network of relationships. He founded the Junto Club, a closed group of bright minds, merchants, artisans, and thinkers meeting every Friday to discuss how to improve themselves and improve their city. He didn't befriend the rich and lazy. He befriended the rising ones like him. He created what we call today a mastermind group, an incubator for mutual growth. Through this group, he amplified his power. One man can only do so much, but a group of aligned minds can move mountains. They supported each other's businesses and backed each other's ideas. Franklin was the conductor of this orchestra of talent. How did this influence turn into immortality? Through public service. Through the Junto, he launched initiatives that changed the shape of America. He established the first subscription library to make knowledge accessible to everyone. And he founded the first organized volunteer fire company in Philadelphia to turn the fear of fires into a system of collective safety. He paved roads. He improved street lighting. He established a hospital. He wasn't the mayor. He was a citizen who cared. And because he cared, people followed him. The lesson here is genius. To be a leader, you don't need a political title in the beginning. Find a problem people suffer from and make a system to solve it. That is how real influence is built, by being useful. Final summary of the episode. Franklin wasn't a magician. He started with a poor childhood, so he invested in his brain through reading. He faced suffocating conditions, so he chose to leave and risk it all. He arrived as a bankrupt stranger, so he built his reputation through hard work. And when he owned the skill, he turned it into a system, business, and then turned the system into service for society. Franklin's journey doesn't end here. In the next episode, we will see how this printer uses his influence to stand before the kings of Europe, contribute to founding a superpower, and discover electricity. A question for you, my friend, before we wrap up. If you were in Franklin's shoes and you reached wealth and influence, would you be content just enjoying your life? Or would you harness all of that to change your society? Share your opinion in the comments. What was the most important decision Franklin made in this phase? Escaping his brother or founding the Junto? And don't forget to subscribe, because what's coming is greater.